Hey guys, it's Spaces Sims, and we are back with more Butterflies Poison. I am so excited. It's been a little while because, obviously we finished Fujita's route last time, and we're starting Hideo's route today. So I like to take a little break between them. I usually do one route of game A, one route of game B, back and forth. But the other game we're playing in tandem has little bits and pieces. And I'm a little bit behind. I've been a little bit behind for the last year, so I don't know why I keep saying this, but I'm usually 3-4 weeks ahead. Now I'm might be a week. So it's just can just never catch back up. But anyway, so I had to record a little bit of that, but I didn't have the full route to do. You know what I mean? Because I was trying to do some of it while I was recording Fujita's route. So I took a couple of days where I was like, nope, I need to let this one simmer. I need to let it, I like it better than just jumping right into the next route. So anyway, it's been for this one, honestly, it's been a few days for me. So we're starting, yes, Glasses Coon, we're starting your route today. And how do we skip in this game again? Okay. I forgot. I still have not gone in to fix all the stupid fucking buttons. I don't know if you can, but anyway. I'm fine. I'm fine, Fujita. Oh. There's a... Ah! I have no choice but to get married. Maybe to you, sir! All of this is most likely going to be skipped. Last time, at least in Fujita's, we read some of this because we made different choices. Actually, that might be the only time we'll make a change is maybe in Majima's route. But for the most part, it's about getting married. Okay. I'm wait, crap, where am I in the guide? Who are you, sir? Aww. Oh, Shiba. Ask Fujita. Majima, we only ask, I'm assuming, when it's Majima. And now this is where it gets different. We've basically skipped 3 freaking parts worth of stuff here. I love how fast this skips. I think it's, because I set it on super fast, but it is, serving the skipping. Every other game kind of skips fast, but this is, don't look at it. Just don't. We are going to choose Hideo, because of course we're going to go on our date with Shiba, with our future boyfriend. I mean, our husband. Hideo, do you want to come along? Me?
I agree. I think you're the best option that we have here, Hideo.
Relief floods through Spacey when she sees her brother nod in approval with a broad smile on his face. Her brother and Hideo are not on friendly terms. They haven't been for a long time, in fact. Hideo is a strict individual who's fastidious, while Mizuhito treats anything and everything without a care in the world. The two are polar opposites. Sorry, okay. Spacey and Hideo used to be close friends in the past until Hideo began to gradually distance himself and act cold towards her. Because all of a sudden budding feelings realizing attracted to you need to separate. I'm just going to assume. Childhood friend route. When they end up being your lovers. That's always how it is! And you're as the main character is what? Never thought of that at all! Which would also be me. So. The frequency of his visits to the Nomiya family's manor has also been decreasing. Right, because he's trying to avoid being around you because he wants to have sex with you. It's different. Naturally, it's resulted in an even wider rift between Mizuhito and Hideo. Hideo might be here right now because of her father's death, but until a moment ago, Spacey was plagued with fears that the conflict between her brother and childhood friend would reignite. However, she seems to have been worried for nothing. Mizuhito currently perceives Shiba as his enemy, and therefore Hideo as an ally. Unlike their mother, her brother isn't particularly proud of their social standing, and so she trusts him, at the very least, not to look down on Hideo in that respect.
So what do you say, Hideo? You will accompany my sister, won't you?
Mizuhito asks, looking at Hideo with cordiality in his gaze. Wow. cordial. That, I can't, my brain does not. That's like a, but it's so bizarre of a word. Anyway. The bizarre tense of that word, like,
I know you must have been looking forward to your holiday, and I probably shouldn't be asking you this favor now, but could you look after her? Just this once, please.
At least Sheba won't try to stick his tongue down my throat in the car. I would hope. That would be really awkward. Sure, if that's what Spacey wants. Hideo replies somewhat begrudgingly. He glances at her and firmly nods, despite the reluctant look on his face. Fine. So a military man will be joining us. Have it your way. Sheba seems far from happy when he throws this scathing remark at them. Poor Sheba. He does get a really bad rap if you play any other route. You're like, God, this guy's kind of a dick. But he's actually a sweetheart. But it's funny that you have no clue. But I mean, that's the way it is with everyone. Like, Hideo, you're like, oh yeah, he's cold and kind of aloof and you barely know anything, barely see anything of him. But like, we're going to find out that he's just, awkward nerd probably. Totally in love with you, can't stand it. So he just doesn't, he's not around you and that's why he's cold and bitchy. Come on. So easily. We better get going though. How do you feel about going to the Seoken Hotel in Tsukiji? Wow. I'm like, I got the Su and then the K mez. I don't know why. Anyway. Seoken Hotel in Tsukiji, yeah. That sounds fine. Well, let's head out. Shall I prepare a car? No need. They'll all fit in mine. Well then, I'll be borrowing your little sister for a moment, Mr. Viscount.
Sure. Hideo, be sure not to stay out too late.
Without sparing even a glance at Sheba, Mizuhito calls out to his sister and Hideo before seeing them off. Hideo lightly bows to Mizuhito and trudges after Sheba and out of the parlor, looking as though the act pains him greatly. I mean, could you imagine if you were Hideo and you're kind of like in love with your childhood friend and that's why you've been avoiding her lately and like whatever's you were growing up because you were like, budding feelings, whatever. And now she's like, oh, will you come along on my date with this guy? He doesn't know that you like have no interest in Sheba. You know what I mean? The conversation we had with him was like, yeah, I have to get married. I don't have a choice. Kind of. Like that was the last conversation you've had with him. He shows up because your father's dead, whatever, and you're like, hey, you want to go out on my date with me? I need a chaperone, so let's go. Third wheel this. Like, that's gotta be, he's like, you're basically going out with this guy because you might marry him, and like, I gotta tag along. Like, of course it's gonna be awkward, and he's not happy about it. What are you thinking? Like, I mean, I get it, she doesn't know, like, oh, he's just being like this because he's in love with me. Like, no, she's clueless. I'd be clueless too, don't get me wrong, so not judging her there, but I just think it's so funny. Also, anyone would be like, this is awkward. Well, I mean, I guess in proper society, someone would go along and chaperone you because a lady and a man can't be alone together. That would be crude. Although with Sheba, it's probably a smart idea never to be alone with him, because we've seen what happens, so. Of course, the act pains Hideo greatly. That's so funny. Once they're inside the car, Spacey learns that Sheba and Hideo already introduced themselves to one another before. While Hideo's impassive expression doesn't let on what he thinks about Sheba, Sheba's attitude hints that the man, at least, doesn't hate Hideo. Your brother's such a worrywart. Probably asked this brave soldier to accompany you because he can clearly cut me with his sword if I so much as look at you the wrong way. Oh, please. Enough of the exaggeration. My brother is just worried. Spacey defends her brother with a sigh, half done with having to deal with Sheba, who's put down his glass of red wine and is now digging into his thick piece of steak. Besides, my brother wouldn't have insisted on asking someone to accompany us if you hadn't been so pushy. Are you sure I'm pushy, though? As far as I'm concerned, I'm only doing what any reasonable man would do. No, I still think you're a little pushy. Don't get me wrong, I love you, Sheba. Heart of gold, really, underneath the gruffness, okay? But like, seriously, bro, simmer it down. Excuse me? What part of you is reasonable? Oh, gosh, did anyone ever tell you that you're eccentric? Eccentric is the word. I gotta turn down my volumes a little loud. Weirdness aside, I'm just trying to be sincere. Anyway, Hideo. Hideo has been quietly cutting into his steamed white flesh fish, looks up at the abrupt mention of his name, and his hands still. The volume. I turned it down, and it like went up even louder. It's like, no, fuck you. You thought that was loud? This is loud. Like, Jesus Christ, turn it down. Simmer down, computer. Yes? What is it? You should drink more. Or do you not like liquor? They're well into the main dish part of the course, but Hideo's glass of white wine, which was served before the meal, is still full. Hideo lightly shakes his head in response to Shiba's suggestion. My apologies, sir. I'm actually quite a lightweight. Oh god, I want to get him so drunk now. Not all soldiers were heavy drinkers. Guess they didn't teach you how to handle your liquor in the military, huh? And you're drinking too much, Shiba. Clearly, because I love drinking. I don't think I'll be able to survive without liquor in my life. Here, you should drink too. No, I'm good. Spacey frantically tries to turn Shiba's offer down. Hideo watches the exchange and raises an eyebrow. You can't drink? That's right. In fact, I think I'm much more of a lightweight than you are, Hideo. And we need to fix that. Once we get together, I'll have you accompany me for a drink every night. So think of this as practice, because the sooner you get used to it, the better. That is just... like... You better get used to drinking, because I'm going to get you drunk all the time. I mean, eventually you'll build up a tolerance, but like... Oh, that shouldn't be the goal. Of like, Shiba's goal should not be like, you better start drinking, bitch. It's a great conversation. Are you out of your mind? First of all, you and I are not going to get together. Hey, what are you doing? Shiba moves to pour red wine into Spacey's glass without waiting for her consent. With the wine served in front of her, she has no choice but to raise her glass and, very reluctantly, drink the liquid inside. Okay, I just want to throw this out there. Just because someone pours you a drink and does not mean, oh, and now I have to drink. No. You'd be like, I said no, so I'm not going to drink it. That was a waste. You're allowed to say no. So, how is it? Splendid, I hope. And just so you know, that wine you're drinking is the best and most luxurious one sold here. What? I didn't know... Ha! You hardly drink, so that's understandable. Surprisingly smooth, right? It is, but I think I should stop now. I really can't drink a lot. Spacey quickly adds, sensing Shiba's intention to pour more wine for her. It's funny because why would... I mean, I feel like Shiba ordered the wine. But, like, if Hideo was ordering a meal, they would be like, oh, that pairs what nicely with this wine. No, I'm good. Like, why would he have gotten wine if he wasn't gonna... I mean, I can understand slowly drinking it, you know, but, like, if he wasn't gonna drink it at all, why order it? Did it just come with it? She hasn't had wine in a long while, and so it doesn't take long for the apples of her cheeks to turn warm and pink. The root of her tongue is tingling from the red wine's peculiar acridity, and the thick scent is making her dizzy. At the early signs of her inebriation, Hideo chuckles. Who would have thought you'd be this late? I'm honestly astonished. You are? Why? Do I look like I can handle my liquor well? No, not at all. I just thought that because Mizuhito's a heavy drinker, you would be too. Hey. So what, because my brother's a man whore, you think I'm a whore too? Jesus Christ. The hell, Hideo. We're not twins. We've established we're not even full-on siblings, which is slightly disappointing. I'm just saying. Until we get to that route, we'll see what happens. But as of this point, that's the next route after this. That's a few hours away, if you think about it. And I am still kind of jazzed for it. I'm still here for the brother thing. We'll see. And they're so gonna rip the rug out and be like, he's not your brother. And you're gonna be like, God damn it, games. Nobody can man up and just let me do my brother. One of these days I'm gonna regret saying shit like this. And then but then Majima will be our full-on sibling or something, and then it'll be like, whatever. I mean, if Mizuhito is our half-brother, and we bone him, and then they turn out Majima is somehow related to us, it's not gonna have the same effect, you know what I mean? It's not gonna be like, ah! It's gonna be like, yeah, well, I already did one, so, like, whatever. Keep it in the family, I guess. You know? It's just so, Anyway. Oh, okay, I guess I can see where you're coming from. I don't think that's a good logical conclusion, though. Like, because my brother's an alcoholic, so am I? Macy gives a strained smile. It's true that her brother drinks a lot, Their father's family was a heavy their father's father, sorry, was a heavy drinker too, so maybe it runs in the family. Unlike my brother, I have practically zero alcohol tolerance. My brother actually had me drink as a joke and I got completely wasted. And the thing is sometimes different types of liquor are different. Like wine and champagne, I could get like shit faced after a glass. Like champagne, especially, like, yeah, like goes straight to my head. Hard liquor, I can drink more of that than like, I can have more vodka drinks than I can have wine. It's the difference. It could be the tannins in the wine, whatever, but it's like, it is different. So, you know, wine definitely makes me a little giddier and loopier than like anything else. Really? The master seems docile, so I would have thought he wasn't capable of being so forceful. Oh. Are you hinting at interesting things that might happen in his route? Gonna be a little forceful with us? Or his sister? Sister. We're not even there yet. We should be enjoying Glasses-kun over here. And I will, don't worry. Because this is what I came for. Well, also the brother thing, but like, you can't hand me a cute boy with glasses and me not be like, love. Even though he's the childhood friend, and that's normally not the route I enjoy. You know. I mean, we've had some childhood friends ones, I think, which were fine, but usually the childhood friend's overprotective and like, in a way that just annoys me. But we'll see. Hideo seems more like the Van Helsing version, which is the, you know, again, cold, aloof, whatever, you're an idiot, insulting douchebag, bastard bespectacled boyfriend. Not the typical, like, oh my god, I need to protect you from the wind because you might blow away. Like, oh no, wait, let me tie that for you. You might sprain your finger tying that knot for yourself. You know, that kind of childhood friend where you're like, I'm going to punch you in the face. Let me blink for you. You might hurt your eyes. You know, where they just think you're literally made out of paper mache. Like cotton candy is going to melt in the rain or some shit, you know? I'm just saying. So, like, I prefer the, you know, not that version of childhood friend, so. Which, Hideo's leaning into the not that way, so. It's just me, really. I'm just too light of a drinker. A mouthful of the wine's already more than I can handle, I'll tell you that much. Could also just be very strong wine. And then stop. If Mizuhito finds you walking back into the manor staggering like a drunkard, I'll never hear the end of it. Hideo says, his mouth curved into a small smile. I like his little smirk. Shiba silently watches the two friends' interaction with rapt attention. Shiba looks displeased, but like, look at the sultry little smirk on Hideo's face. I'm into it. Hideo, are you close with both siblings then? What? By both? You mean what exactly? Oh, are we having a threesome with my boyfriend and my brother? Okay, I could be into it. I heard that you and the lady here were childhood friends. But are you also a good friend of the master? Once the question leaves Shiba's mouth, Hideo's smile drops and he goes silent. I suppose, sir. Our families were close. That's so. The way I see it, you and the master don't seem to be friendly with each other. What led you to that conclusion? Your age is closer to the master than the young lady. Don't you guys go to the red light district together? I heard he's got quite a reputation in that area. I'm sorry, now we learn that Hideo's a whore. We know he's not, because I'm pretty sure in the beginning of the guy with the review, it's like, you know, a bird-loving virgin over here. So, like, he hasn't touched anyone in the red light district. It's going to be really weird going from, like, never touched a woman over here to, like, whore of the century over there with our brother. Also, not our brother, is our brother. That should actually be the thing that's going to be the weirdest. And yet, whatever. I realize how funny that sounds after the fact. Like, well, actually, the brother part should be the weirdest, but whatever. Theo clenches his jaw. The once amicable air around them is turning spurious. We don't go there together because I hate that kind of activity, sir. Oh? Oh? Shiba and I both, oh? Well, this is interesting. Do you hate women, soldier? Well, that would be a weird turn of events. I'm not particularly fond of them. Interesting! Wait, excuse me, sir? Are we different? Are we not like other girls? And them includes the lady here? Realizing that she's been roped into the conversation, Spacey holds her breath. Is this man deliberately trying to ignite Hideo's wrath? Apprehension slowly creeps into her chest like a gathering storm. I like that. He's like, oh yeah, you don't like any women, including this one? Like he's going to admit that he's in love with us. But Hideo maintains his cold mask. Mask. Keyword. What's your point? I don't suppose it's of any significance to you, sir. You're right, it isn't. I'm just curious, given that, at the very least, Spacey seems to like you. Otherwise, she wouldn't have picked you. And suppose I tell you that I like Spacey. What will you do? Hideo's tone suddenly changes. Oh, are you, like, admitting right here in this restaurant? I just thought this would take longer. He doesn't address Shiba as sir, and his speech has lost its formal, soldier-like quality. I'd appreciate it if you could refrain from throwing pointless questions at me. You may not think it's a waste of your time, but it sure is a waste of mine. God, I love snotty assholes in glasses. God, I love it. I get it now. You're the straight-laced type. Shiba laughs like he's the only person in the room who understands what's so funny, but the gesture seems deliberate. Look, the more time you waste, the more fun life gets. Well, the more you waste. Okay. Look, the more you waste, the more fun life gets. Then again, you have a point. I shouldn't have asked you that question because you've already got your whole future planned out. What? Stop right there, Shiba! Hideo sounds nervous when he raises his voice to counter Shiba's casual remarks. What is Shiba trying to say? This is interesting. Most likely something that she has yet to know. Something that Hideo doesn't want her to know. The panicked look on Hideo's face turns Spacey's chest into chaos. What is that supposed to mean? It means just what I said. Right, Hideo? Hideo chooses to respond with a heavy silence. Huh. She's never seen him behave this way before. With the surprise kept hidden in her heart, Spacey shifts her gaze from Shiba to Hideo. Shiba has a sarcastic smile playing on his lips, and Hideo groans before turning to him with a scowl. Unless they've arranged a marriage for him or something like that, you know what I mean? Got his whole life planned out or whatnot. Is there anything you don't know about? Hideo, what is this about? Nothing. Just a dull discussion. A marriage proposal is what this is about. I think that's funny they sent a marriage proposal to him. Not the other way around. Shiba doesn't miss a beat. The moment the cat's out of the bag, Hideo's shoulders jump. Interesting. I heard the wedding's almost a sure thing. I don't get why you're trying to hide it, Hideo. Everyone's bound to know. Oh, that makes this route that we're already starting with the angst. We're gonna fall in love with him when he's engaged to someone else. Ooh, we're gonna steal him away. We're horrible. I love it. Who's getting married? Is it Hideo? That's right. Shiba's affirmative response makes her sober up instantly. I love how Shiba's doing this, though. He's so devious. Like, well, I mean, we've already been down his route, so we know how into us he is and his whole backstory. But, like, when you just look at it from this, he's like, oh, like, we brought Hideo along, and he's like, oh, so what, you're not into Spacey? He's like, whatever, why does it matter? He's like, oh, she seems kind of like, she likes you, obviously, because she brought you along. Like, hey, does she know you're basically getting married? Gonna fuck this up right here. Because Shiba is like, even if Hideo, like, he's like, I don't know if I believe you that you're not interested in Spacey, but I think she's into you, so I'm gonna put a fucking knife in this and, like, stop it right here and be like, hey, did you know he's getting married? Yeah, so in case you were thinking you're interested in him, not on the table, over here, only thing available, right here, hello. Look at me, girl. Like, Shiba, unfortunately, we've already dated you, and in place of dating you the first time we went down your route, but we've decided we were going to fuck our butler instead. Even if our best friend's not on the table, I still have my brother to do. And then I'm going to date the woman who's prostituting out my brother. Like, and then the man that's trying to murder everyone in my family. That's... Poor Shiba. I feel bad for Shiba in every route. Because it's like, I mean, it makes sense us falling in love with our childhood friend over you. Okay, fine. But, like, I'm going to choose my butler over you? That seems like you gotta be Sheba like, wait, what? That seems a little, but I mean, we've known our butler our whole life. But again, that's a little weird. I'm gonna beg my brother over you. Excuse me? It just gets worse as you go. You're like, oh, that lady that was prostituting out my brother and actually is a pimp? I'm bang her too over you. And now you can't help it if we're a lesbian. We're obviously bisexual, or she's gonna turn us bisexual anyway. You know what I mean? But like, sure. But then like, we're like, you know, the man that like tried to murder everyone in my family and was like out to get us. Yeah, totally into that shit. Poor Sheba. We will literally do anyone and anything before you in every other route, obviously, but like, because we know he's a good boy. It's not like, well, you're actually an asshole, sir. It's like, you come across as gruff and a little bit of an ass, but like, you're a good boy underneath, you know? But like, damn, it's kind of funny watching from the outside where you're like, poor Sheba, like, he just does not know what's going to happen to himself. Like, damn, sir, you're trying so hard, and we are running as far away and leaping into the arms of any other person that we can, which is sad. Oh my god. Hideo has a fiance. Oh no, that's him. Hideo has a fiance, and she seems to be the daughter of a considerably respectable family. Oh. Yeah, he's definitely trying to be like, you can't date him, I think you're in love with him, so I'm your only option. Sir? Again, see that lineup. It's like someone tossed a wet blanket over them. While she and Hideo were silent as they sit in Sheba's car on their way back to the Nomiya family's manor. Sheba makes his exit after telling her he'll be back, but neither of them moves. They remain rooted to the ground. Spacey's utterly confused. How did Sheba find out about Hideo's engagement when she, his childhood friend, has only learned about it today? And then, oh god, this is like, it's gonna fall through because he's gonna let the drama. It's just like when he visited the Nomiya family's manor a few days ago to accurately guess their financial situation. This man clearly picks up information related to aristocrat families fast. Maybe he often goes to evening parties and mingles with the aristocrats in order to learn about their daily secrets, or their dirty secrets, sorry, not their... I was thinking their daily lives and it was dirty secrets. She seems to have been marked by a frightening person, Spacey muses, and she mentally cowers. Eventually, the silence between them breaks. Finally succeeding in calming herself down, Spacey opens her mouth to speak first. Hideo, so you have a fiancé. He doesn't look very happy about it. Hideo doesn't immediately react. After a while, however, he gives Spacey a sidelong glance and mutters in a gloomy tone. I do, but some things are still not settled yet. Didn't you talk to me about it? Because it doesn't concern you. Spacey's chest tightens at Hideo's callous response, and breathing suddenly feels harder. Why would you say that? Don't you think of me as your childhood friend, Hideo? Childhood friends, huh? We are, aren't we? We've been together for as long as we can remember. Hideo scoffs and turns to her with a sneer on his face. Sure, maybe we were together a lot when we were kids, but so what? It's not like it's an important detail. It's kind of interesting how bitchy he is. Like, and again, like, he's trying to avoid, it's like, what was the actual turn? You know what I mean? Like, did he say something to us once and we were like, ha ha ha, yeah, right, we'll never get married. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's something we said or did. Like, you know, like Sheba's totally obsessed with us because we gave him a handkerchief when we were younger and he just remembered that and we're like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like, Hideo said something in passing and we just laughed it off and that just hurt him for eternity. You know what I mean? Because, like, there's something. Don't say that. We've known each other for a long time, but we're not family. Well, I mean, if we were, I would definitely be banging you because... brother thing. Anyway. We're not close enough to be able to easily talk about our private lives. The ice in Hideo's answer makes Spacey's breath hitch. Hideo isn't wrong, but the way he put it felt too standoffish. The sharp way he strung together his words makes her think that maybe Hideo isn't saying these things because of the Ozaki family's influence, but his own belief. She feels a pang in her chest where a faint trace of sorrow soon takes over. Spacey levels Hideo with a stare filled with resentment before she can stop herself. Now, I used to believe that you've been acting callous recently because of the spat between our families, Hideo. But maybe I was wrong. What? I'm sure your fiancée is a wonderful lady. She'll be graceful, beautiful, someone I don't deserve to be compared to. And how does it relate to the way I treat you? Compared to her, I'm clearly just a tomboy, an insignificant woman. That's why you've been acting less than friendly toward me. We're getting straight up in there like, oh, I'm just not good enough for you? Is that it? Do you have feelings for him that we weren't admitting to ourselves? I think you're misunderstanding something. Hideo looks at Spacey with a pair of unfeeling eyes. Look, I'm gonna be frank with you. You were partially at fault for my engagement. What? Nobody told us about it, but apparently, our parents once talked about arranging our marriage. Sensing that another shriek is on the way out of her throat, Spacey hurriedly lifts her hand to cover her mouth. Oh, they were going to arrange our marriage, and that would have been perfect because we're going to be in love with him, so. Arranging their marriage? As in she and Hideo? The idea sounds so far-fetched that she feels almost compelled to brush it off as a bad joke. I didn't know. And the talk did happen, but your prideful mother sneered at the idea. She said the status gap between your family and mine is too wide to breach. So everyone in the Ozaki family was furious, and they were eager to find a girl from a family even more prestigious than yours for me to marry, out of spite to your household. How is that my fault that my mom's a bitch? I didn't make her that way. And so here we are. Jarring details revealed, Spacey looks at him with furrowed brows, jaws hanging open. She's never heard of this story before, not in the slightest. She remembers Hideo's cold attitude toward her at the evening party. He told her that the purpose of the party was to find a man for her to marry. Now she understands why he sounded so harsh back then. There's a whole story behind it, and this is it. But it's also, I feel like, instead of him being like, you could have found that out later and like, oh, her mom is an asshole who thinks I'm not good enough for her. Like, okay, well, whatever. You wouldn't be mad at your friend. I don't think it's just that, like, well, I'm going to give you an attitude because your mom doesn't think I'm good enough. I mean, I guess part of it, but, like, I still think there's a little more like, oh, I'm not good enough to be her husband, but you have feelings for this person that you grew up. You know what I mean? I think that's part of it, too. Yes, there have been instances where Hideo treated Spacey coldly before, but never directly blamed her like he did that night. He could have been nicer about it, since they've been friends since they were young. Actually, no. It's precisely because they've known each other for a long time that Hideo's hatred got amplified to that extent. I'm so sorry. Spacey. Sorry, Hideo. I had no idea. Spacey can't just stand there without apologizing. I know it's not like I could have done something if I had known about it, but I'm so sorry. You have every right to be angry, Hideo. It's not something you should apologize for. Hideo's voice takes a completely different turn, and it sounds just a little awkward. I was none the wiser myself. I only knew about it when my father brought up the subject of my fiancée out of the blue. I've always been aware of your parents' derisive attitude toward me and my family, but I didn't think it would lead to something this major. I was surprised. Hideo shrugs with a strained smile on his face, the air around him lacking the anger and irritation from moments ago. Maybe because a part of him was angry, thinking, like, when he knew about this, like, thinking that we felt the same way that our mother did, like, oh, whatever, I'm not good. And you're like, I'm sorry, I didn't even know about this. And he's like, oh, yeah, okay, well, it's not your fault. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're mad, you're like, what the hell? I'm not good enough for her. And then you're like, I didn't know. And then he's like, I mean, you shouldn't apologize because it's not your fault. I'm not mad at your mom and mad at you, but I shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Like, you catch yourself and realize, like, not you. I'm sorry, Spacey. It's not your fault, and I shouldn't have been so malicious. No, please. I've probably thrown so many insensitive words at you, enough to last a lifetime. I'm sorry too, Hideo. I already told you not to apologize. I don't resent you. I never have. If anything, I love you. Hideo begins, but then he stops himself and swallows the words he's about to say. Yeah, exactly it. That's why he's so mad when he found this out, right? He's like being angry at us because he's in love with us, and then like my family's like, oh, he's not good enough. But then he's taking it out on us as if we said that, even though he knows it's not true. But once we apologize, we're like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. He's like, yeah, I shouldn't have been mad at you because it's not your fault. You didn't know, and like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I'm in love with you and it hurt. Aww. Mouth in a tight line, he seems to be choosing his next words before he speaks to her, this time in a serious tone. So there you have it. I'm engaged, but the outcome is still tentative, unlike what Sheba led you to believe. I, for one, am not interested in the whole farce. Saying you're not interested in marriage, Hideo? Obviously. I never even tried to entertain the idea. It's marriage. You're right. And yet it looms like a dark cloud over Spacey's life, and she casts her eyes down at the reminder. So are we gonna we're gonna end up together, maybe we don't get married, but are we just gonna run away together and live on a farm in the woods or some shit? Because I'm okay with that. I'm not into the farm life, but I'm fine if that's what they do. You know what I mean? What else? What up? We can run away. Both of them are old enough to be married. It's time for them to step into a new stage of life, which involves marriage and whatnot. But Spacey can't see the beginning of a new phase in her life as something spectacular. The death of her father, the financial distress of her household, Sheba's offer to buy her as his wife, and now her mother's illness. The unfortunate events in her life are just like those in a tragedy. And what about you? Are you not interested in Sheba? See, he's right there, this awkward question. He's like, I'm not interested in this whole farce of marriage. Probably because he's in love with us, but he's not really interested in anything else. I think he's got feelings for us. I don't think that's going to be something that we grow now. I think it's always been there. You know what I mean? But this so you're not into Sheba, because I mean, you went on to lunch with him. And we're like, God no, and he's like, oh, thank God. Hideo's query makes Spacey look up. Her childhood friend, who is in the same predicament as she is looking at her with an unreadable expression on his face. Yeah, please don't be in love with Sheba. Spacey sighs. What I'm about to say is going to sound too uncouth coming from the mouth of a woman, but it's not even about my interest in him. It's more than that. Do you hate him? Hideo, you've probably heard about it from one of the people in my household, but the man said he wanted to pay my family off with money in exchange for me. She hugs herself, has to, and lets the vulgar words roll out of her mouth. The idea of willingly offering herself to be the despicable man's wife is humiliating, to say the least. I agree that it's an insane proposition, but you don't have the right to choose now, do you? I don't. Because I'm only a woman. Hideo opens his mouth to respond to Spacey's self-derisive remark, but he seems to change his mind because silence falls upon them again. A woman has no right to make a choice in her life. She can openly express her refusal to marry Sheba because her brother, who's the head of the family, happens to be against it as well. In any other circumstances, however, a woman cannot possibly defy the decisions made by her family. A woman with a strong will is considered undesirable. And that's part of why we're going to run away with Kyoko. A quiet and obedient woman who never voices even a single complaint is the one extolled as a good woman, a good wife. The feeling of helplessness is unendurable. The suffocation from being pushed to fit inside a narrow mold that limits her every movement. If this ain't fucking real, though, I mean, we've come a long way, right? But still, there's still this underlying thought process buried deep in people, and you're like, it's still... The mold is there's a couple of molds, but they're still trying to jam you into that, right? There's still this underlying thing of what, you're not married? You don't have kids? What's wrong with you? I don't like kids. Don't say that. I'm allowed to say I don't like kids. I'm allowed to not want fucking children. Just because I have a uterus doesn't mean its sole purpose is to birth people. Sure, biologically, but we're more than just our biology. Jesus Christ, we're not animals. We have intelligence. Okay, I can think and feel. It doesn't mean that I am just a walking womb. Jesus, simmer down. But there's still this, like underlying low level thought that people just can't get out of. So like 100 years later, we're still like, it's still a little icky if you think about it. I feel like there's a large majority of people who are like, fuck that shit. But there's still too many people who are still in this kind of 19 fucking 20s mindset. Like, Hideo, do you remember the offer you gave me at the evening party that day? You said you'd help me run away, take me somewhere. Macy murmurs the words softly. Will you then take me away? What? Oh my god, is that going to be his route? Us just running? Oh, I love it! Do it! Let's do it! I want to run away from here. I want to disappear. Spacey. She feels like clinging to him like her lifeline. The way she sees it, Hideo's the only person who understands her situation. Sure, there's an age difference between them, but they're both being forced to enter marriages they didn't even ask for. There's an age difference between them. There's an age difference between you and Sheba. There's an age difference between you and your butler, which is even bigger. There's an age difference between you and your brother. He's also your brother. So, like, the age difference here is not that much. Maybe they should run away together. She's come to believe so. I agree. I would love it if that's how this route went. His voice cracks at the end. You'll accept any man who's willing to help you run away, won't you? It doesn't have to be me. What? Nothing. Just talking to myself. See, he loves you. He loves you so much. Hideo wrenches his gaze away. But you can't run away, right? I heard your mother isn't entirely put out by Sheba's marriage proposal. So she's decided to approve of a wealthy man without a noble status, and not a man from a reasonably well-off family, but with a pedigree below your family's. Your household's financial situation must be far more urgent than I initially thought. Look at those long-ass eyelashes of his. They're beautiful. The sarcasm dripping from his words is palpable, but it doesn't sound like he's looking down on Spacey herself. He's looking down on the situation because, oh, your mother thinks I'm not good enough for you, but Sheba's fine? The fuck? Yeah. I mean, you can't blame him for that. We would feel the same if you were in his position. Are you going to marry your fiancé? I don't know. But the marriage talk is nearly final, right? Yeah. Maybe I will have to marry her in the end. Hideo's face is blank. That doesn't look blank, that looks pained. But she won't be happy even if we get married. Huh? Why not? Because I don't love her. You don't know that. But I do. Hideo drops his gaze. He looks crestfallen, as if he's trying so desperately to lock something that's been multiplying inside his chest in a box, and it renders Spacey speechless. Oh. There's something in my heart that refuses to disappear. It's us. As long as it's there, I can't possibly love anyone else. But you and your fiancé will both end up unhappy, Hideo. Yeah, I suppose so. With a sobering look in his eyes, he nods. But when it comes to a marriage between two aristocrats, happiness is the least of their concerns. Their lineage's survival and vanity come first. Am I wrong? Macy presses her lips together, unable to say anything back. Although what Hideo says is true, a small part of her wants to refute it, to argue with him. Macy's parents were in a political marriage. Her mother's older brother, who was the head of the household, and his wife had no children. Worried about the household's continuation, the vassals came up with a backup plan and asked the head of the household to adopt the child of his younger sister. Wait a minute. Her mother's older brother, so her uncle, who was the head of the household, and his wife had no children. Worried about the household's continuation, the vassals came up with a backup plan and asked the head of the household to adopt the child of his younger sister. So you're saying... Well, us, because our mother and... Wait, what? And so they chose her father, a distant relative with suitable family status, and asked her mother to marry him. That doesn't... Okay, wait. Am I just, like, not figuring out the math here? Okay, so, like, on our mother's side of the family, her brother was the head of the household. He and his wife had no children. So, for the household's continuation, the vassals came up with a backup plan. They'd ask the head of the household to adopt the child of his younger sister. And then how does that? And so they chose her father, a distant relative, and asked, okay, so I get that they're choosing the father, but where does the whole head of the household, so obviously your uncle, to adopt the child of his younger, so you, to adopt you, but not, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is just doesn't quite make sense right now. Am I crazy? Am I, like, I guess I don't know. Both her mother and her father didn't have any say in it. Their feelings didn't matter. As to whether or not the couple's marriage was a happy one, well, Mizuhito's presence and her mother's lavish lifestyle can answer that question. Well, yeah. Although I feel like in other routes, they kind of made it seem like their parents did care for each other. You know what I mean? But yet at the same time, it's like your father was banging a maid, and that's why your brother exists, and your mother's just trying to buy herself happiness. You know, so that could have been nurture, you know what I mean? Like, she was used to spending money and just, you know, wasn't thinking about it. But it could also be the nature. They were like, well, it's, you know, just, well, I'm miserable. I'm trying to buy my happiness. I'm covering it. It's like a psychological thing. Or again, she was just used to spending money and she was raised like that. So she didn't have to budget. You know what I mean? Like, if you grow up always budgeting and kind of concerned with money and doing things like that, you don't just go out and spend lavishly. That's a difficult thing to change because you're used to not being able to do that. If you're used to being able to spend lavishly and throw money at anything when you have to budget, it's difficult because you're not used to that, you know? So, like, it could be a combination of things with the mom. Obviously, we're saying, like, dad fucked a maid and had my brother and or some random woman, I don't remember exactly, but and then mom's just trying to buy herself happiness, probably a little bit of both there, but like, you know. But again, I feel like in other routes they were like, no, but our parents were happy. No, I mean, I guess it just depends on the narrative they're trying to sell in the game, whether it's like, were they happy, weren't they happy? And you could still be forced into this political marriage and be happy sometimes but not happy other times, you know what I mean? Or the very beginning of their marriage, when Mizuhito was born and all that, could have been very unhappy, and yet maybe as the years went by they found something that worked for them and like became happier. You know what I'm saying? So it's not to say that just because it starts out, you know, in a situation where you're like, I don't like this, that it stays that way. But in the end, her mother's brother had a son with his wife, so they didn't have to adopt any children from the Nomiya family. Okay, that makes more sense to what it was saying. Like, they were going to adopt her child. And I'm like, that would be us. What? All right, so they just weren't done with that. However, the fact remains that her parents were victims of a political marriage, and both she and Mizuhito still live feeling the weight of it. Perhaps her family has simply inherited the unending chain of misfortunes. Macy muses with sorrow shrouding her heart. What if you and I did end up marrying each other? What do you think would have happened? Macy voices her thought out loud, and Hideo turns to her with wide eyes. What are you talking about? Well, you told me our parents discussed it once. I know it fell through, but what if my mother weren't against it? I was just wondering. Why do women like thinking about what ifs? Plus, we're bored and we got nothing better to do. Just thinking about reality is boring. That too! It just seems like a waste of time to me. That's because it would hurt your heart, you adorable little bastard. Hideo, you're such a serious man. She laughs, unbidden, and Hideo frowns at her. You first, then, and tell me what you think would have happened. Huh? Me? Yeah. What if you and I did get married? Having her question thrown back at her, Spacey lets her mind wander. What if she married her childhood friend Hideo? What if we just do... And then the whole route is basically... And then all of a sudden it comes back here and you're like, I guess it's not going to happen. The end. The bad ending is like we woke up and realized that from this point on it was just in her imagination. Fuck, why is there no game that does that? Could you imagine, like, what would have happened? And then, like, you know, all of a sudden the game goes on, you have a happily ever after, you go down a bad ending, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I don't think getting married would have been a good idea, and then we go off, he gets married to someone else, and you're like, whoa, you're telling me the whole fucking game never happened? Shit! That'd be amazing. I think. See! Right here! Oh my god! This would have been the perfect spot for a save point. We're not even in his route yet. This is still the common route, I think. But, like, this would have been the perfect spot where you, like, I don't know, and then you just go off and this is your bad ending. The whole game was just an imagination. We would be happy. Yes, we would. We would be happy. I'm sure of it. Happy. Yes, because I know you well, Hideo. Marrying you is much better than marrying a total stranger. Spacey voices her reasoning, and Hideo snorts. You're still a child. Should have known. What? What's that supposed to mean? So you know me well, huh? Enlighten me then. What exactly do you know about me? A lot. Been around you since we were little, so I know some stuff. The stuff about me when I was a kid. I'm sure you know nothing about what I've become since I entered the military academy. Oh, well, that's true. Maybe you're right. Macy grows sullen, and Hideo huffs and continues in a slightly miffed tone. And you know absolutely nothing about what marriage is about, do you? Having a happy marriage isn't easy. I do know what marriage is about. Stop treating me like a kid. It's where you kick him in the balls. I was gonna say nuts and then balls, and it came out bunts. Kick him in the bunts. Give him a little bunt in the nuts. Yeah. I won't, because you are a kid. A marriage isn't child's play. You seem to think that marriage simply entails two people becoming family. No, it isn't child's play. I know that when two people tie the knot, their families do too, in a sense. That's not all. Hideo's slightly strong tone takes Spacey by surprise. Are you going to try to give me the sex talk? Because I'm not completely stupid. Oh, hi. Are we this is so funny because this is like a CG, but it actually just looks like part of the regular game. Because it's right in front of the gates of the house. You know what I mean? And usually the background or something slightly different. You know, and this is like, it actually just, it blends so well in that you don't realize. You're like, is it? Oh, okay. It just blended so seamlessly in. Anyway, a second later, she feels the warmth of Hideo's hands on her shoulders. With the setting sun behind his head, her eyes rake over his callous and seething face. This is supposed to be a silly conversation, so Spacey can't fathom why Hideo looks so angry. Hideo's resentful face is reflected in her confused eyes. Do you think you could give birth to my children? What? His question renders Spacey voiceless. That's a whole separate thing. Giving birth to Hideo's children. It's true that marriage also involves welcoming new members to the family, and a woman's biggest role is to give birth. God, sometimes I really just hate when the game says shit like this, because it's the fact of the times, but it's still annoying. There's just that seething rage inside where you're like, you know what? I'm just mad. I know that it's the times, but it's still just underlying makes me mad. It's not the game's fault. It's history's fault, but it just makes like it's unfathomable rage. Like, how dare you? You know what? Can't blame the game for the time period. Like, and Spacey isn't a little kid. She understands the meaning of giving birth and what comes before it. The face of her childhood friend suddenly looks like the face of a resolute, unknown man. She swallows nervously. She even begins to feel the urge to shake off the hands on her shoulders. But before she can act on it, Hideo lifts his hands. At the same time, he looks away from Spacey. I'm kidding. We're just talking about a what-if scenario, remember? Yes. The red sky behind Hideo has reduced him to a dark figure that she can only make out the outlines of. I think it's funny because he's like, could you give birth to my children? And she's like, wait, what? And he's like, oh yeah, see, I was just kidding. Because he thinks that she's appalled by the thought. But it's one of those things, like, sometimes you gotta get used to the idea of, like, having babies when you haven't been thinking about it because you don't want them. You're like, I am not ready for that. I'm not even ready to get married, but what if we did get married? And then all of a sudden you're talking about babies, and I'm like, back it up. Back it up. Macy feels like a corner of the world that she's familiar with has been tilled and tossed up into the wind. She's just seen something frightening and strange beyond it. I really know nothing about Hideo. He's just angsty because he's in love with you. Spacey's convinced that yes. Oh, Spacey is convinced now that yes, Hideo was right. The remnants of Hideo's warmth on her shoulders spurs Spacey's heart to beat faster. And yet she doesn't find the rapid palpitation unpleasant. No, because it's love. Or lust, something. Hideo, the man she used to be so close with, might be growing distant, but his true feelings are approaching her, flickering like a mirage. Their exchange has left her with that feeling. Well, I guess we've chatted enough. Hideo's mutter is decisive. He turns his back on Spacey to look at the eastern sky, which has become completely dark. I think I'm going home. Pass my regards to Mizuhito. Huh? Already? Aren't you going to come in and have some tea first? No. I'm not in the mood to talk to your brother. Well then, see ya. Okay. Bye. Spacey nods mechanically and watches Hideo's retreating back. She can still hardly read Hideo, but she's glad he stayed by her side today. His presence kept Shiba from doing anything forceful to her like he did the other day. And most importantly, today I found out that Hideo is engaged. Clearly, Hideo's old enough for his parents to be introducing a woman or two to him. There's nothing odd about it. However, she never thought the Nomiya family would be somehow responsible for Hideo's engagement. She can't keep being clueless about things anymore, for she's no longer a child. The environment around her is changing, constantly, at a speed faster than she thinks. But so are she and Hideo. No. Now we're basically in his fucking route. That was the last choice that was... Oh, no! No. Okay, sorry. Oh, I can actually jump to the choices instead of skipping. What we gonna skip? Okay, so now we got Hall, Mother's thing. Okay, so we're not fully in his route then. Okay. But, oh, nope. Now maybe. No, because we still have to have our mother, like, freaking out and dying and shit. Yeah. Now we're here. Kyoko's visiting. Is this when she's inviting us to the tiger meat party? Like, I'm going. Sure, I'm going. By the way, heard the family of that soldier friends of yours is also invited. Huh? Hideo's invited? Shiba's comment comes as a shock. Spacey wonders just how the Ozaki family and Lady Kyoko are related. No, so I guess after the credits is when you're fully in the route, but some of the stuff is still the same, so you don't have to read, which is cool. Is Hideo going to the party? Beats me. All I know is that the lady seems too close with the family of his fiancé. So even if he does go to the party, he'll be there as his fiancé's +1. Oh, I see. Hideo's fiancé. Oh, we're gonna steal him away! She doesn't know who his fiancé is, but for her to be an acquaintance of Lady Kyoko, it is a small world after all. I hate it when that phrase comes up because then I can't stop thinking of the small world ride at Disney, which is so creepy. That ride was so creepy with the puppets and I hate it, and the song, it's just, I don't like it. Makes me uncomfortable. Listen, I had to go on that ride once with my ex-husband. We went to Disney with his family because, like, his sister and younger kids and stuff like that, and we had to go on that ride, and I didn't want to, but his parents wanted to take everybody on it, and I was like, okay. And there is a point where you see, like, a little hot air balloon in the corner, and there are clowns in it, and there's a sign that says, help me. Even the clowns don't want to be on that ride, and clowns are evil. Okay? Listen, I understand that I've got a weird thing for, like, when we play Radiant Tail, the clown carrot is the hottest one in this game, and I got, like, but listen, anime clowns, Joker from Black Butler, shit like that, like, circus clown magician vibe thing is kind of hot. I don't understand, but actual clowns are terrifying, okay? But the clowns didn't want to be on that fucking ride, alright? I'm just saying. So, like, when it's a small word, stop it! And then just, I don't like it. Anyway, that aside, this conversation reminds her of the worrisome extent of Shiba's information network. What method did he use to obtain information on Hideo's fiancé? We're gonna end up going obviously a little over because we're basically at time, but it's fine. Shiba, are you by any chance close with the family of Hideo's fiancé? Nope, not in the slightest, in fact. Her family's a respectable one, but they don't seem interested in commercial enterprises at all. Her and his fiancé got to know Lady Amami through the circles of the high society. Circles of high society? Has it been on your mind? Shiba throws a teasing remark at Spacey, watching her with a disgusting grin on his face. Blood instantly rushes to Spacey's cheeks and she looks away. No, it hasn't! Stop looking at me like that! Looks like someone's jealous because someone's taken her childhood friend away. And I'm telling you I'm not jealous! Sure, you probably didn't say it out loud, but it's all written on your face. Grow up, Sheba! Stop teasing me like an elementary school kid! This is so great.
What's going on? It's quite lively in here.
The door opens to reveal Mizuhito, who leisurely saunters inside. Oh, brother, where have you been?
In the storehouse. I must have fallen asleep at some point.
I feel like we've also read that him falling asleep in the storehouse before. Glad to know you could spend a relaxing time again today.
I'm sure my definition of a relaxing time won't meet your standards, though. And so here you are again. Is business slow? Is that why you come here a lot?
At a glance, they seem to be exchanging a civilized and placid banter, but the thorns of sarcasm decorate their words. I read it with sarcasm decorating their words, so what? Mizuhito sits down next to Spacey with a small grunt. After yawning once, Mizuhito turns to fix his sleepy eyes on Shiva. And sitting down with a grunt, is that because your body hurts because you were tied up in like that private club? I mean, I'm just saying, we know what was going on in Fujita's route.
Well, what did you come here for today?
Tell you about an invitation to a dinner party hosted by the Amami family.
Oh, you must be referring to the ludicrous, tiger meat, right?
Yeah, if she's going, I'd like to accompany her, and that's what I came here to ask. Brother, I'm going to the party.
Huh, are you sure?
Sleep disappears from Mizuhito's gaze as he turns to his sister with shock etched over his features.
Are you curious about what tiger meat tastes like?
No, because we know it's rancid. No, not really, but it is a rare opportunity, so I want to go.
Well, if you say so, I'll go with you.
What you're curious about isn't the tiger meat, but something, or rather, someone else, right? How many times do I have to explain myself? I over-dramatized it, but it's still funny. She shouts before remembering that her brother is still in the room. She quickly clamps her mouth shut. You just can't be like, how many times do I have to tell you? Like, no, I just want to over-dramatize everything. If her brother finds out the reason she's interested in going to the dinner party... If her brother finds out that the reason she's interested in going to the dinner party is that she wants to know more about Hideo's fiancé, she doesn't think she'll be able to live through the embarrassment. Well, he's the only one engaged, though. What? We're engaged, too. I've told the lady as much. You what? Oh, for the love of... I can't believe you! Basie shoots up from her seat. We are not engaged. I am not your fiancé. We pretty much are. Sit down, please. Let's not be too excited about our engagement. I am far from happy. I'm furious! Anyway, what's done is done. Oh, would you look at the time? It looks like I gotta run back to my office. Hey, wait! Sheba! You better rectify your statement! I don't want Lady Kyoko to think that we're engaged! If you hate the idea so much, go on and clear up the misunderstanding yourself. On the day of the dinner party, that is. Unperturbed by Spacey's rage, Sheba abruptly rises from his seat and briskly saunters off toward the door. Sheba, I'm not done talking! We can talk as long as you want on the day of the party. Now, if you'll excuse me.
All right. Thank you for stopping by.
This game is so fucking good. I love it so much. For a few moments following Sheba's departure, I bashed my controller. Silence fills the air. Macy stands there in mute amazement by the haughty man's audacious behavior. What an outrageous man.
I bet you seem awfully chummy with him.
Brother, did you not hear the words I threw at that man? Do I sound like I was being nice?
I'm glad you're in high spirits. That aside,
Mizuhito fixes his languorous gaze at her.
You shouldn't get too close to Lady Amami, Spacey.
Huh? Why? She's a friend of our mother.
She is, but let's say there are rumors about her that are far from pleasant.
What kinds of rumors? Also, I'm assuming the same thing's kind of going on under the surface in this route as what happened in Fujita's route. The bad ending, you know?
And things I'd rather keep away from your ears. Anyway, just make sure to keep your distance.
Hey, I get it. Just how grave are the rumors for her brother to hesitate to share them with her? But Spacey's mind's currently too preoccupied with thoughts of Hideo that she can't find it in herself to worry about the rumors surrounding the lady. Hideo, he must be going to the dinner party with his fiancée. She has mixed feelings about this. The act of going to a dinner party, where a lot of people would gather, with his fiancée is like announcing they're indeed engaged. Hideo didn't seem like he was interested in getting married. There's something in my heart that refuses to disappear. As long as it's there, I can't possibly love anyone else. That's obvious what it is. I can't possibly love anyone else? She remembers those words. He said he didn't choose to be engaged, so it was an affair between two families. Moreover, since the source of his engagement was Spacey, it would be weirder if she didn't care about what kind of person his fiancé is. Hideo's fiancé, Sheba's words and her brother's warning, these things bode ill, telling her that the Tiger Meat dinner party will most likely not end on a peaceful note. Dun dun dun! That's a perfect place to end it. It takes a long time to transition from one scene to another, but anyway. I will see you guys next time. We'll be skipping when we start, so remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.